Yes, dear students, today class scientific management approach of the F.W. Taylor. Frederick F.W. Taylor is the scientific thinker in the public administration. He is the very important knowledge person for the development of the scientific thing in the Department of Public Administration. So today we have to discuss about the Frederick Wilson Taylor. F.W. Taylor means Frederick Winslow Taylor. He born in March 20, 1856. He was death in March 21st in 1915. Was an American mechanical engineer who sought to improve industrial efficiency. He was one of the first management consultants. Taylor was one of the intellectual leaders of the efficiency movement, and his ideas, broadly conceived, were highly influential in the progressive era 1892-1920. In 1911, Taylor summed up his efficiency techniques in his book The Principles of Scientific Management, which in 2001 Fellow of the Academy of Management voted the most influential management book of the 20th century. His pioneering work in applying engineering principles to the work done on the factory floor was factory floor was instrumental in the creation and development of the branch of engineering that is now known as industrial engineering. Taylor made his name and was most proud of his work in scientific management. However, he made his fortune patenting steel process improvements. Taylor was also an athlete who competed national in tennis. Frederick Winslow Taylor, Frederick Winslow Taylor, JPC Taylor, circa 1900, born March 20, 1856, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, US, died in March 21st, 1915, aged 59. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, US, resting place West Louis Hill Comptery, Bala, Signwide, Pennsylvania, US, nationality, American education, Phillips Extra Academy, Alma Mater, Stevens Institute of Technology, BS Occupations, Efficiency Expert Management Consultant, known for father of the scientific management and efficiency movement, father of the industrial engineering, hometown, Germantown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Fauzi, Louis M. Spooner, Children's 3 Awards, Elite Crescent made biography edit. Taylor was born in 1856 to a Quaker family in Germantown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Taylor's father, Franklin Taylor, a Princeton educated lawyer, built his wealth on mortgages. Taylor's mother, Emily Annette Taylor nee Winslow, was an ardent abolitionist and a cover, coworker with leukemia. Moat, his father's ancestor, Samuel Taylor, settled in Burlington, New Jersey in 1677. His mother's ancestors award in Wilslow was one of the 15 regional Mayflower pilgrims who brought servants and children, and one of 8 who had the honorable distinctions of Mr. Wilson served for many years as the governor of the Plymouth colony. Educated early by his mother, Taylor studied for 2 years in France and Germany and traveled Europe for 18 months. In 1872, he entered Phillips Exeter Academy in Exeter, New Hampshire, with the plan of eventually going to Harvard and become a lawyer like his father. In 1874, Taylor passed the Harvard entrance examination with honors, however, due allegedly to rapidly deteriorating eyesight. Taylor chose quite a different path. Instead of attending Harvard University, Taylor became an apprentice pattern maker and machinist, gaining shop floor experience at Enterprise Hydraulic Works in Philadelphia, a pump manufacturing company whose were friends of the Taylor family. He felt his apprenticeship for 6 months and represented a group of New England mission tool manufacturers at Philadelphia. Centennial Exposition. Taylor finished his 4 years apprenticeship and in 1878 became a mission shop laborer at Midwell Steel Works. At Midwell, he was quickly promoted to time clerk, journeyman, machinist, gang boss over the Lathe Hands Mission shop foreman, research director, and finally chief engineer of the works. While maintaining his position as a mission shop foreman, Taylor's past promotions reflected both his talent and his family's relations with Edward Clark Ford, owner of Midwell Steel. Edward Clark's son, Clarence C. Clark, who was also a manager at Midwell Steel, married Taylor's sister. Midwell Steel's works aerial views 1879. Early on at Midwell, working as a laborer and machinist, Taylor recognized that workmen were working their machines are themselves not nearly as hard as the code, a practice of that the time well called soldiering, and that is this resulted in highly labor cost for the company. When he became a foreman, he expected more output from the workmen. In order to determine how much work should properly be expected, he began to study and analyze the productivity of both the men and the missions missions. Although the word productivity was not used at the time and the applied science of productivity had not yet been developed, his focus on the human component of production. Taylor labeled scientific management. While Taylor worked at Midwell, he had Clarence Clark won the first tennis double tournaments in the 1881 US National Championship. The precursor of the US Open, Taylor became a student of Stevens Institute of Technology, studying via correspondence and obtaining a degree in mechanical engineering in 1883. On May 3, 1884, he married a Lewis M. Spooner of Philadelphia. The Bethlehem Steel Plant 1896. From 1890 until 1893, Taylor worked as a general manager and a consulting engineer to management for the Manufacturing Investment Company of Philadelphia, a company that operated large paper mills in Maine and Wisconsin. He was a plant manager in Maine. In 1893, Taylor opened an independent consulting practice in Philadelphia. His business card read Consulting Engineer, Systemized Shop Management and Manufacturing Costs, a specialty. Through these consulting experiences, Taylor perfected his management system. His first paper, a piece rate system, was presented in the American Society of Mechanical Engineering (ASME) in June 1895. In 1898, he joined Bethlehem Steel to solve an expensive mission shop capacity problem. While at Bethlehem, he discovered the best known and most profitable of his many patents. Between 1898 and 1900, Taylor and Mounsell White conducted comprehensive empirical tests and concluded that tungsten cutting steel doubled or quadrupled cutting speeds. The inventors received $1 lakh, equivalent $2.5 million today, for the English patents along. Although the US patent was eventually nullified, Taylor was forced to leave Bethlehem Steel in 1901 after discord with other managers. Now a wealthy man, Taylor focused the remainder of his career promoting his management and missioning methods through lecturing, writing, and consulting. In 1910, owing to the Eastern Rite case, Frederick Wilson Taylor and his scientific management methodologies became famous worldwide. In 1911, Taylor introduced the principle of scientific management paper to the ASME 8 years after his shop management paper. On October 19th, 1906, Taylor was awarded an honorary degree of Doctor of Science by the University of Pennsylvania. Taylor eventually became a professor at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. In early spring of 1915, Taylor caught pneumonia and died one day after his 59th birthday, or March 21, 1915. He was buried in West Laurel Hills Cemetery in Bala, Sinwide, Pennsylvania. Learn more. This section containing too many or overly lengthened quotations for an encyclopedic entry, drawing marks and private make of the Trinity often cited as the makers of the modern world. Marx would be taken out and replaced by Taylor if there were any justice. For hundreds of years, there had been no increase in the ability of workers to turn out goods or to move goods. When Taylor started propounding his principles, 9 out of every 10 working people did manual work, making or moving things, whether in manufacturing, fanning, mining, or transportation by 2010, it will constitute no more than 1/10. The productivity revolution has become a victim of its own success. From now on, what matters is the productivity of a non-manual workers. Bolding added. Peter Drucker's The Rise of the Knowledge Society, Wilson Quarterly, Spring in 1993. Taylor's crime in the eyes of the Union was his assertion that there is no skilled work in manual operation. There is only work. All work can be analyzed the same way. The Union were craft monopolies, and membership in them was largely restricted to sons or relatives of members. They required an apprenticeship of 5 to 7 years, but had no systematic training or work study. The Union allowed nothing to be written down. There were not even blueprints or any other drawings of the work to be done. Union members were sworn to secrecy and forbidden to discuss their work with non-members. Bolding added. Peter Drucker, The Rise of the Knowledge Society, Wilson Quarterly, Spring 1993. Taylor was a mechanical engineer who sought to improve industrial efficiency. He is regarded as the father of scientific management and was one of the first management consultancy in the administrative activities of the government. So that is the main of the administration activities. So the problem of the administration activities are not consider the administration level of the the F.W. Taylor. The rise of the Knowledge Society, Wilson, Quarterly Spring 1994. Taylor was a mechanical engineer who sought to improve industrial efficiency. He is regarded as the father of scientific management and was one of the first management consultant and director of a famous Frederick W. Taylor was the first man in recorded history who deemed work deserving of a systematic observation and study on Taylor's. Scientific management rests above all the tremendous surge of appliancy in the last 75 years, which has lifted the working masses in the developed countries well above any level recorded before, even for the well-to-do Taylor, though the Isaac Newton or perhaps the Archimedes of the science of work laid only first foundations. However, not much has been added to them since, even though he has been dead all of 60 years. Taylor's scientific management consisted of four principles: replace rules of thumb work methods with methods based on a scientific study of the task. Scientifically selected, trained, and developed each employees rather than passively leaving them to train themselves, provided detailed instructions and supervision of each worker in the performance of that worker's discrete tasks. Montgomery, 1997. Divided work nearly equal between managers and workers so that the management principles to planning the work and the workers actually perform the tasks. Future US Supreme Court Justice Lewis Brandeis coined the term scientific management in the course of his argument for the Aston rate case before the Interest Commerce Commission in 1910. Brandeis argued that railroads, when governed according to Taylor's principles, did not need to raise rates to increase wages. Taylor used Brandeis' term in the title of his monograph, The Principles of Scientific Management, published in 1911. The Aston rate case propelled Taylor's ideas to the forefront of the management agenda. Taylor wrote to Brandeis, I have rarely seen a new movement started with such great momentum as you have given this one. Taylor's approach is also often referred to as a Taylor's principles, or frequently disparagingly as Taylorism. Managers and workers added the ideas then of training workmen under a competent teachers into new working habits until he continually and habitually work in accordance with scientific laws which have been developed by someone else is directly ontogenic to the old idea that each workman can best regulate his own way of doing the work. The philosophy of the old management puts the entire responsibility upon the workmen, while the philosophy of the new places a great part of it upon the management. W. Taylor, the principles of scientific management. Taylor had very precise ideas about how to introduce his system. It is only through enforced standardization of the methods, enforced adoption of the best implement and working conditions, and enforced cooperation that this faster work can be assured, and the study of enforcing the adopting of a standards and enforcing this cooperation rest with management all one. Workers were to be selected appropriately for each task. One of the very first requirements for a man who is first to handle pig iron as a regular occupation is that he shall be so stupid and so polygamatic that he more nearly resembles in his mental makeup the ox than any other types. The man who is mentally alert and intelligent is for this very reason entirely unsuited to what would for him be the grinding matter of work of this character. Taylor believed in transforming control from workers to management. He set out to increase the distinction between mental planning work and manual labor executing work. Detailed plans specifying the job and how it was to be done were to be formulated by management and communicated to the workers. The introduction of his system was often resented by workers and provocated numerous strikes. The strike at Watertown Arsenal led to the congressional investigation in 1912. Taylor believed that laborer was worthy of his hire and pay was linked to productivity. His workers were able to earn substantially more than those under conventional management, and his earned him enemies among the owners of factories where scientific management was not in use. Rhetorical technology. Taylor promised to reconcile labor and capital with the triumphs of a scientific management. Unions would have nothing left to do, and they would have been cleansed of their most the most features of the restriction of output. The underscore this idea, Taylor fashioned the myth, myth that there has never been a strike of men working under scientific management, typing, trying to give it credibility by constant repetition in similar fashions. He essentially linked his proposals to shorter hours of work with bothering to produce evidence of a tailorized crime that reduced working hours, and he received his famous tale of Schmidt crying pig iron at Bethlehem steel at least. Their times obscuring some aspects of his study and stressing others so that each successive version made submits exertions more impressive, more volatile, and more rewarding to him than the last. Unlike Emerson, Taylor was not a charlatan, but his ideological message required the suppression of all evidence of worker dissent, of coercion, of any human motives or aspirations other than those his vision of progress could encompass. Scholarly debate about increased efficiency moving pig iron at Bethlehem's Iron and Steel edit debate about Taylor's Bethlehem study of workers, particularly the stereotypical laborer, scummed continues to this day. On 2009 study support ascertains Taylor made about the quite substantial increase in productivity for even the most basic task of picking of carrying and drafting pigs of iron. Management theory. Taylor thought that by analyzing work, the one best way to do it would be found is most remember for developing the stopwatch time study, which combined with Frank Gilbreth's motion study methods later became the field of time and motion study. He broke a job into its component parts and measured each to the hundredth of a minute. One of his most famous studies involved shovels. He noticed that workers used the same shovel for all materials. He determined that the most effective load was 21 of rounds and found or designed shovels that for each materials would scope of that amount. He was generally unsuccessful in getting his concepts applied and was dismissed from Bethlehem Iron Company, Bethlehem Steel Company. Nevertheless, Taylor was able to convince workers who used shovels and whose compensation was tied to how much they produced to adopt his advice about the optimum way to solve by breaking the movements down into their component elements and recommending better way to perform these movements. It was largely through his descriptions, apart most notably Henry Guntis, that industry came to implement his ideas. Moreover, the book he wrote after parting company with the Bethlehem Company shop management sold well. Relations with ASME Edith Taylor's written work were designed for a presentation to the American Society of Mechanical Engineering. Mechanical Engineering. These including note on belting 1894, piece rate system 1895, shop management 1903, art of cutting metals 1906, and the principles of scientific management. Taylor was president of the ASME from 1906 to 1907. While presented, he tried to implement a system into the management of the ASME, but met with much resistance. He was able to recognize only the publication department and that only partially. He also posted that the ASME long-time Secretary Maris Levilian Cook and replaced this with Calvin W. Reis. His tenure as a president was trouble-ridden and marked the beginning of a period of international dissension within the ASME during the Progressive Age. In 1911, Taylor collected a number of his articles into a book-length manuscripts, which they submitted to the ASME for a publication. The ASME formed an ad hoc committee to review the text. The committee, including Taylor allies such as James Mapes, Dodd G. and Henry R. Brown. The committee delegated the report to the editor of the American Mechanist, Leon P. Alford. Alfred was a critic of the Taylor's system and his report was a negative. The committee modified the report slightly but accepted Alfred's recommendations not to publish Taylor's book. Taylor angrily withdrew the book and published Principles without ASME approval. The Taylor published the trade book himself. So, the United States, one of Grill G. Birth's Sped and Feed Slide Rules, a grand shot. Carl G. Barth helped tailors to develop speed and feed calculating slides rules to a previously unknown level of usefulness. Similar aids are still used in mission shops today. Barth became an early consultant on scientific management and later taught at Harvard. H.L. Gunt developed the Gantt chart, a visual head for scheduling tasks and displaying the flow of work. Aristogant Emerson's introduced scientific management to the earlier industry and produced the dichotomy of a staff versus line employees, with the former advising the latter. Maris Cook adapted scientific management to educational and municipal organization. Hugo Munsterberg created a industrial philosophy. Lillian Gilbreth introduced psychology to management studies. Frank Gilbreth, husband of Lillian, discovered scientific management while working the construction industry, eventually developing motion studies independent of Taylor's. These logically complemented Taylor's time studies, as time and motion are two sides of the efficiency improvement coin. The two fields eventually became time and motion study. Harvard University, one of the first American universities to offer a graduate degree in business management in 1908, based its first year curriculum on Taylor's scientific management. Arlo as persons as a dean of Dartmouth as Emerson Truck Schools of Administration and Finance promoted the teaching of scientific management. James O. McNessie, professor of accounting at the University of Chicago and founder of the consulting of bearing his name, advocated budgets as a means of assuring accountability and of measuring performance. France, Lee Chatelain translated Taylor's work and introduced scientific management throughout government-owned plants during World War One. This influenced the French theorist Henri Pleyel's OS in 1916 administration, industrial, etc. General emphasized organization structure in management in the classic general and industrial management. In the classical general and industrial management, Payles wrote that Taylor approach differs from the one we have outlined in that he examines the frame from the bottom of he start with the most elements units of activities the workers action, then studies the effects of their action on productivity, devises new methods for making them more efficient, and applies what he learned at lower levels to the hierarchy. He suggests that Taylor as staff analysis and advisors working with individuals at lower level of the organization to identify the way to improve efficiency. According to Payel, the approach result in a negation of the principles of unity of command. Payel criticized Taylor's functional management in this way. In shop management, Taylor said the most marked outward characteristics of functional management lies in the fact that each workman, instead of coming in direct contact with the management at one point only, receives his daily orders and help from 8 different bosses. These 8 were root clerk, instruction cardman, cost and time clerk, gang bosses, sped bosses, inspectors, repair bosses, and the shop discipliner. Payel said that this was an unworkable situation and that Taylor must have reconciled the differences in some way not described in Taylor's works. Around 1922, the journalist Faulty Bernegzi became interested in Taylor's theories, which were popular in France in the post-war period. Bernegzi became the faithful discipline of the domestic science movement that Christian Frederick had launched earlier in the United States, which Bernegzi adopted the French Holmes Frederick had transferred the concept of Taylorism from the factory of domestic work. These include suitable tools, rational study of movement and timing of tasks. Scientific standards for a housework were derived from scientific standards for workshop intended to streamline the work of a housewife. The Committee National Deal or the organization franchise was founded in 1925 by a group of journalists and consulting engineers who was Taylorism as if to expanded their client base. Founders including promotement engineers such as Henry Louis Lee Chatelain and Leon Gillette. Berenger's Institute of Housekeeping Organization participated in various congresses on the scientific organization of work that led up to the founding of the CNOF, and in 1929 led to a section in CNOF on domestic economy. Older historical accounts used to suggest that British industry had less interested in tailors' technique than similarly sized countries. More recent research has revealed that British engineers and managers were as interested as in other countries. This disparity was largely due to what historians have been analyzing. Recent research has revealed that tailors' uh, practices diffused both Britain more broad consultancies in particular the BIDEX consultancy then through institution as the Germany and to a lesser extent France where mixture was most effective. Particularly enthusiastic were the Cadbury families, Simdam, Rotaires, Oliver, Sedil, and Lindall Urwick in addition to establishing a consultancy to implement Taylor system. Urwick or and partner Urwick was also a key historian of F.W. Taylor and scientific management, publishing the making of scientific management, trial laws in the 1940s, and the Golden Book of Management in 1956. Switzerland. In Switzerland, the American editor Albert Phelan established the International Management Institute to spread information about management techniques. Lyndall Urwick was its director until the IMI closed in 1933. So, in the Soviet Union, Vladimir Lenin was very impressed by Taylorism, which he had Joseph Stalin thought to incorporate into Soviet manufacturing. Taylorism and the mass production methods of Henry Ford thus became highly influential during the early years of the Soviet Union. Nevertheless, Frederick Taylor's methods have never really taken root in the Soviet Union. The voluntaristic approach of these administrative activities of the Taylorism, it is a very important administrative activities in the governmental administrative activities. So it's a very important of the Taylorism as to continue in the administrative activities for the managemental system. The management was to give the importance of the Taylor Society was founded in 1912 by Taylor's allies to promote his values and influence. A decade after Taylor's death in 1915, the Taylor Society had 1,800 members, including many leading U.S. industrialists and managers. 1936, the society merged with the Society of Industrial Engineering, forming the society for a advancement of management which is still existing today. The Taylor, many of the critics of Taylor come from Marxist. The earliest was by Antonio Gramsci, Italian communists. In his prison notebooks, Gramsci argued that Taylorism subordinates the workers to management. He also argued that the repetitive work produced by Taylorism might actually give rise to revolutionary thoughts in workers' mind. Henry Brewermark's work, Labor and Monopoly, Capital, the degradation of work in the 20th century, published in 1974, was also critical of scientific management and of Taylor in particularly. The This work pioneered the field of labor process theory as well as the contributing to the historiographical of the workers. The management theories Henry Mintis Big is highly critical of the Taylor's methods, maintaining of the administration activities. The Taylor methods have to also been is a uh, challenged by a socialistic. Their argument related to progress, defense, depending of a workers in the workplace and the subsequent degradation of work as a management powered by capital uses Taylor's methods to render work repeatable and precise yet monotonous and skill reducing. Reiterated argument that Taylor's methods of transferring control over production from workers to management and the division of labor into simple tasks intensified the alliances of workers that had begun with the factory system of a production around the period of 1870 to 1890. So this is the Taylorism. Tennis on the go accomplishments. Edith Taylor was an accomplished tennis and golf players. He and Clarence Clark won the inaugural United States National Tennis Tables Championship at Newport Casino in 1881, defeating Alexander Van Rensselaer and Arthur Newbold in straight sets. In the 1900 Summer Olympics, Taylor finished fourth in golf. So this is the scientific management of the F.W. Taylor, friends.